What is going on, everybody? C4 here today, continuing with the best 7-round mock draft series you're going to find on the YouTube platform. Today, we're looking at the Washington Redskins. Ooh, baby. It's time to start talking about the Eagles' rivals. Let's try to be unbiased, try to be impartial, and try to, assess and address to the best of my ability and not try to trigger people. And I think what I did here in this Redskins draft, fairly good. I'm looking at it right now. There's There's two prospects I really like, so it wasn't like I was just trying to give them the bottom of the barrel. And I think Redskins fans will feel pretty content with how I did this draft. We're gonna take a quick look at their 2016 draft, see what their front office kind of leans towards, their free agency, and all that good stuff in between. So Redskins last year were 8-7-1. They had the 3rd overall offense, 28th overall defense. Their MVP, for my opinion, was Kirk Cousins. I still don't think Kirk Cousins is an elite quarterback. We're starting right away with a hot take, but I think you can win with a guy like Kirk Cousins. I just don't see him ever being the type of player that shows up in big games. And I say that as a salty Eagles fan, that we have not played well against the Redskins the last 2 years whatsoever. And Kirk Cousins has torched us. I think he's a good quarterback. I don't think he'll be a great quarterback, but you can win with that. So they can build up a defense and not have the fucking 28th ranked defense. They can do some damage. So before free agency started, my needs for the Washington Redskins were defensive line, defensive back, wide receiver, linebacker, offensive line, and then a question mark with quarterback, because obviously there is uncertainty with Kirk Cousins. I personally don't believe they're going to hammer out a long-term deal. I think he's going to take his money and go to free agency next year, which is smart. I think it's a smart business decision. Looking at free agency, they got Brian Quick, who was wide receiver, somewhat underwhelming with the Rams. They got him on a pretty much short prove-yourself deal, which they need to. They need to reload the wide receiver spot. They lost Deshaun Jackson. They lost Pierre Garçon. So they did try to do their best, and they let's see what they did. They signed Vernon Davis on a 3-year, $15 million deal. He looked really productive, and you can't really rely on Jordan Reed to stay healthy. Concussion issues and stuff like that, which sucks because even though I hate the Redskins, Jordan Reed, Florida Gator, like to see him do well. I usually get him in fantasy football, and he's always hurt, which kind of sucks. But when he's on the field, he's he's not a complete tight end, but he's as big of a weapon at the tight end spot as any player in the NFL. That's including Gronkowski. But Vernon Davis did pretty good in relief role last year, so I'm going to give him that a B. They signed Terrell McClain on a 4-year, $21 million deal. Giving it a C. I think that was just more trying to reload on the defensive front. He was, nothing really special with the Dallas Cowboys. Not bad. He's good, solid player. But, you still would say, even though that piece of shit, I hate Chris Baker so much, fuck that guy. McClain is not, up to his level, in my opinion. They got Stacey McGee on a 5-year, $25 million. I give that a C+. He's a little bit more productive on the Oakland Raiders. But again, I still think that defensive front is weaker than it was when they ended last season. They brought in DJ Swearinger on a 3-year, $13.5 million deal. Give him that an A. That's great upside. I think that's a phenomenal contract for a guy that's a position of need. Now he's coming in. He's going to be your starting strong safety. And there you go. I think that was a great pick. And then they got Terrell Pryor on a 1-year, $8 million deal. I'm giving that a B+. I think, obviously, it's a big fine considering the playmakers they lost at wide receiver. That's just me more so saying they paid $8 million for Terrell Pryor. And then you look at what we paid Alshon. I'm not going to make that comparison because it's come off as super biased. I just don't think Terrell Pryor shouldn't get top-tier money, in my biased opinion, because he's still learning the position. I think you had to. I think for a team like the Redskins that lost what they did at the position, they had to go out and get Terrell Pryor. And it's a good find. It's a 1-year deal. I like that. That's why I'm giving it a B+. I'm not going to shit on it. I'm just personally not sold on Terrell Pryor, the prospect, to really develop much more. This is essentially, he's 28. He's going to be 29. If he's been relying on his athletic ability to compensate for the lack of technique that he has at the wide receiver spot, which is clearly the case because he's a brand new wide receiver, it's going to go down. Father Time is going to hit him sooner than later. It's not like, Terrell Pryor's 25, 26. He's getting ready to turn 29. All right? So I think if you're a Redskin fan, you're really hoping Josh Doxson can emerge as a monster on the outside. I think the wide receiver, they did do a solid job of reloading. Pryor, Doxson, Crowder is solid. It's definitely not as good as Deshaun, Garçon, and Crowder, but it's not bad. That's still, as good and as competitive of a wide receiver core than a lot of teams in the NFC. So looking at what they did last year in the 2016 draft, let's see if I agree or disagree with it. So in the first round, pick 22, they got Josh Doxson, the wide receiver from TCU. At the time, I thought that pick was kind of bad. I thought they had better needs that they could go after. But looking at, foresight, maybe they knew they weren't going to be able to keep Deshaun Jackson. So getting Josh Doxson, now looking back on it, looked like a great pick. Obviously, he was injured and didn't really get to see what he can bring. And hopefully, he can, do some stuff for them. He only had 2 receptions last year. If he can stay healthy, he had a great combine, was a combine warrior at the wide receiver spot. he could be a big-time playmaker. They need that for Kirk Cousins. The second round, they got Su'a Cravens, who is a safety linebacker hybrid. I think that's a solid pick. I think there's a lot of upside there. They can really carve out one true position. I think he had 34 tackles last season, so he got his way onto the field. I think there's upside there. The third round, they got my favorite pick, was Kendall Fuller. I think he's a solid corner that can probably look to take over for a guy like Bashaud Breeland, maybe. But until now, he's solid. He's probably the top depth behind Breeland and Josh Norman. I like that pick. I think Kendall Fuller should be able to carve out a bigger role. Fifth round, they got Matt Ioannidis from defensive tackle from Temple. Thought that was a decent pick. They got Nate Sudfeld in the 6th round, a quarterback from Indiana. Steven Daniels, the linebacker from Boston College in the 7th round, who I had mocked to the Eagles in several mock drafts in the 7th round. And then finishing out the draft with Keith Marshall, who tested incredibly well at the running back spot from the University of Georgia. So I think overall, wasn't a bad draft from the Redskins. I'd give it like probably a B, with the upside to be a B+, still developed. Their first 3 picks look like they're going to be guys that are going to be influential in that roster for years to come, in Fuller, Cravens, and Josh Doctson. And I really like the foresight. Josh Doctson at the time, I was like, what the hell? They don't need a wide receiver. But now losing what they lost, it's not bad. Good job. So, and they also got Fat Rob. We can't forget about Fat Rob as an undrafted free agent. Good pick. Fat Rob, starting running back. Oh, he's going to be one of my keepers in fantasy football, so I hope to God he can do some stuff and not lose his starting gig next season. So that being said, let's jump into the 7th round mock, and they have quite a few picks, so it's going to be a lengthy one. Let's see if we can maximize these picks and not piss off all the Redskin fans that are going to be watching this video. So in the 1st round, pick 17, it pains me to say this, but I've been going with Jarrett Davis, the linebacker from Florida, who I think has all the potential to emerge as the top linebacker from this year's draft class. Didn't work out the combine. When he worked out at his pro day, I can't remember all the exact testing, but they said he pretty much tested top 5 in every single drill for all the linebackers. 6'1", 240 pounds, emotional leader. This guy is a thumper. Even though he's 240, he's not the 250, 260 that you see of the old school big power linebacker. I think Davis instantly comes in and is the best linebacker on that roster. I mean, that is as biased as I could sound. But looking at the starters right now, they have Will Compton and Mason Foster. You got Su'a Cravens trying to carve out a role there. Davis comes in. He's a beast. I do think there is an injury concern. He did miss some time with Florida, and when he did play, there's plenty of games that he wasn't at 100%, but I'm telling you right now, he's a very, very special player. And he had almost 100 tackles last year, 11 tackles for loss. He can get after the quarterback. He can force fumbles. He's exactly what you want. And it's another sad day as another Florida Gator goes to a divisional rival. But I'd be very happy to see Davis go to a team like Washington where he can start right away and I can watch him play. And hopefully just have bad games against the Eagles and can dominate. I can watch him sack Dak Prescott for years and years to come. But Davis, man, he's one of my favorite players in this year's draft class, as biased as that sounds. And he'll be a great fit for the Washington Redskins. Jumping to the 2nd round, pick 49. I've been going with Desmond King, the safety from Iowa. There was a lot of, is he going to be a corner? Is he going to be a safety? I think the fact that he didn't run a 40-yard dash really proves he's not fast. Everyone thought that was going to be his knack. Everyone thought that's why he couldn't play corner, and he pretty much proved it by being, I'm not going to say scared, but afraid to really test his 40-yard dash. He's 5'10", 200 pounds. He's a safety. He's a free safety in every sense of the word. And they need to get younger free safety. The current starting free safety there at Washington is D'Angelo Hall. That's not going to cut it. He's an old man. I just still remember when he got absolutely embarrassed, ripped by DeAndre Hopkins in the Hard Knocks series. I think a guy like Desmond King, NFL Pro comparison is Jarius Byrd, who they maybe think about him. Well, he's with the Buffalo Bills. He was a great ball hawk, and he does have phenomenal ball skills. Desmond King does. Was the top corner in college football last year in 2015. He consistently could get 6-7 interceptions. I think he has great production. It's just so much the athletic side of things that makes you a little bit worried, but his instincts are there, and I think he will be a great zone corner. He can come in and compete, and potentially, probably, I can see at the mid-season point, take over for D'Angelo Hall at that starting free safety spot. If not, just beat him out outright. So good value there in the 2nd round. In the 3rd round, I have been going after quarterback Brad Kaya, the quarterback from Miami, 6'4", 215 pounds. Didn't run a 40-yard dash time, which is, I thought it was kind of surprising a little bit because he is an athletic guy. He's not going to be a guy that runs a burner time, but I could have seen him, helping his stock potentially get into the 4.7s. Looking as athletic as guys maybe like a Davis Webb, but he is a project quarterback, and I think that's exactly what you need. You need to prepare for life beyond Kirk Cousins, and I don't think that's Colt McCoy. I don't think that's Nate Sudfeld. I think investing a 3rd round pick on a guy with upside in Brad Kaya could be the best bet because there is no certainty that Kirk Cousins re-signed. If I'm personally Kirk Cousins, I'm throwing the middle finger to Washington for keep franchise tagging me and not giving me any sort of financial security for the long term. And I'm going free agency next year because you know that if Kirk Cousins goes to free agency next year, he's going to get paid way more than what Washington is going to offer him. There's going to be a team, be it the 49ers, be it the Browns, that are going to pay him just an ungodly amount of money that the Redskins aren't going to match. And if he's smart, and it doesn't seem like he has the best buddy-buddy relationship with the Redskins or their front office, he's just going to take the franchise tag, the $24 million he's going to make this year, and he's going to take that to the bank, and he's going to laugh as he goes there. Even if he gets hurt, which is, the big disadvantage of not, for Kirk Cousins' point of view, not getting re-signed. If he gets signed to a longer, more guaranteed money deal, it's a little more financially secure if he gets injured. Even then, if Kirk Cousins gets tear his ACL, he's still going to get paid out the ass if he goes to free agency next year. So I don't see a suitable backup on the roster right now. I think Brad Kai in the third round is well worth the investment. He's clearly not going to play this year, and everyone knows he needs to get a red shirt. So I sit him this year, have him learn behind Kirk Cousins. It's a favorable offense to work with Jay Gruden and Matt Cavanaugh. So then get ready for 2018 in case he's gone. Craig Kaya, wasn't too long ago, Brad Kaya was, regarded back in the preseason as, a first-round draft pick quarterback. So get him on the roster, don't rush him into things, and then see what happens in 2018. At least you have that cover, and you have that upside in the spot in case Kirk Cousins leaves you high and dry. Going to the fourth round, they have 2 fourth-round picks. First one, pick 114. I've been going with Jaron Jones, the defensive tackle, nose tackle. I don't necessarily know where they're going to really find him. I think he'd be a nose tackle from Notre Dame. 6'6", 320 pounds, 5'3", 340, 22 reps on the bench press. NFL comparison is Jordan Phillips, the nose tackle on the Miami Dolphins. Elite size, he has exactly what you want. There are some character concerns, but boomer bust prospect in the fourth round on a team that definitely needs to add some depth on the defensive line. Go for it. Absolutely go for it. The Redskins are a team that will occasionally make kind of a head-scratching pick. Ari Kwanjo was one for me, personally, a couple years ago. Josh Doxson, a little bit questionable. But I do think a guy like Jaron Jones has the upside, potential, had flashes of a guy that could be a second-round pick. Get him in the fourth round to improve what I personally think is a defensive line that needs to add a little bit more depth. He's the best guy available. And if he could deal with the off-the-field character concern type, and see what he can do, give an honest chance, turn this, maybe, like I said, a lot of these college players, once they get in the professional environment, can turn this shit around. That's a good pick there for the Washington Redskins. With their second, fourth round pick 123, I've been going with Tyler Orlowski, the center from, the center from West Virginia. I think, again, another guy, not great. Still would probably grade him as a top 5 center in this year's draft class, but with Corey Lichtsteiner retiring, Spencer Long's their starting center. I think you want to add some more competition there. And center, you're never going to get a high center unless you're Ryan Kelly. Last year for Alabama, it's kind of an outlier. So I think getting depth at the center spot would be a good pick here for the Washington Redskins. And Orlowski certainly has the talent to be an eventual starter. I don't necessarily know if you're going to want to throw him there right away, but you never know. Competition for Spencer Long isn't a bad thing, and he can come in and compete. Jumping to the fifth round, pick 154. I'm going with Brandon Langley, the corner from Lamar. Looked really good, actually, in the Senior Bowl. 6 feet tall, 200 pounds, 4'4", 340, 22 reps on the bench press. Pro comparison's Anthony Brown, who did some big things last year with the Dallas Cowboys as a late-round draft pick. Height, weight, speed type player with great production, I think, with his potential. Versatile, play zone, play man. Very great versatility back there. I think you pair him right there. Who you have at cornerback spot right now? You got Josh Doran. You got Brashad Breeland. Okay. What else you got for me? Nothing. I think there's definitely some open spots there. Quentin Dunbar, Deshaun Phillips, the backup corners. Ugh. Get a guy like Brandon Langley who's not going to start right away, but you can work with it and really can compete. I think he can come in and compete right away with Kendall Fuller for some of the top depth roles, to be completely honest with you. They got Thorold Simon, who, height, weight, speed, another one of those guys. But I think adding a guy like Brandon Langley, who's one of the sleeper corners in this year's draft class, in my opinion, would be a good value pick for the Redskins, especially because the depth at the cornerback spot is not as strong as other teams in the league. Jumping to the sixth round, where they have 2 picks again. Lots of late-round picks here. I'm trying to hit on most of these ones, even though it pains me to make it. Pick 201, I'm going with Josh Malone, the wide receiver from Tennessee, 6'3", 210 pounds, ran a 4.40 height, weight, speed guy again. Not going to be... I can see him being kind of a Robbie Anderson, who was from Temple last year, height, weight, speed guy, got undrafted, and then balled out for the Jets, and looked near at the end of the season when they kind of, just gave up at the quarterback spot. The most dynamic wide receiver on the outside. I think Josh Malone, tremendous value as an upside pick. Could come in, probably compete with, Reginald Diggs, Maurice Harris, Kendall Thompson as depth, and see what he can do. Height, weight, speed, you can develop that guy. And I think, it's a very, very wide receiver friendly offense that they run there in Washington. And he could be a guy in the 6th round that can end up making the roster, showing up and balling out in the preseason, and you can see him make some moves next year at the wide receiver spot. Another second, 6th-round pick 209. I'm going with Storm Norton, offensive tackle from Toledo. This guy looks hilarious. 6'8", 311 pounds, right tackle. Slaying him there. Depth behind Morgan Moses. That's pretty much it. Getting depth in the offensive line. Trust me, as a Chip Kelly survivor, not drafting any offensive lineman in a draft is usually really, really bad. And even though it is only a 6th-round pick, I think a guy like Storm Norton, very, really big tackle that needs to get some, more technique, more power around him. But he has upside, so probably a good spot to potentially make the final 53, but more so land himself on the practice squad with a lot of upside. And then finishing out here, we got 2 7th-round picks. We're going with 2 offensive weapons. Pick 220 in the 7th round. I'm going Brian Hill, the running back from Wyoming. Even though I do have Rob Kelly as a fantasy running back that I plan on keeping him, I'm not solid there. I don't think anyone knows what's going on at the running back spot. It seems like Mac Brown can have a big game for Florida. Keith Marshall, who knows? Matt Jones, Chris Thompson. It's pretty much a shit show, a carousel back there at the running back spot for the Washington Redskins. But Brian Hill, I think if it was a weaker draft class, he might be a 4th-round pick, a mid-round pick. But he slipped just how my board played out. It was pretty solid, very productive at Wyoming. Didn't test incredibly well, but I think, again, just add another running back to the mix, see what sticks. It seems like Jay Gruden does not know what he wants exactly in a starting running back. And Brian Hill does have potential to definitely make a final 53. And then finishing up in the 7th-round pick, 235, I'm going with Artavis Scott, the wide receiver from Clemson, just best player available, 5'10", 195 pounds. Did not test very well, but was pretty productive with Clemson. And just, see what sticks at the wide receiver spot. I think the wide receiver depth at Washington is not outstanding. I think Artavis Scott, even though he only ran a 4.61, didn't have the best, but he's, inside receiver, can work with other guys on the outside. He'll never be a number 1, but just see what happens. See what sticks. Maybe he can be some extra slot depth behind Jamison Crowder, and see if they can find a way for him to carve out a role in an offense. But I would say best thought is he has to make a play on special teams, and will probably end up being practice squad. But there you go, guys. That is my 7th-round mock draft for the Washington Redskins. Let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. That's your first time stopping by. Even though I am on the Eagles channel, Redskin fans, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. 100 likes on this video, and tomorrow we'll be doing the Tampa Bay Buccaneers full 7th-round mock draft. Until next time, guys, it's C4 saying thank you for watching, and peace out.